Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Spellman, and Professor Spellman. Been around here for a long time, and I'm delighted that you have enrolled in Art History 101, and to study in an online fashion. This is an exciting course. I say it because you can tell I'm excited. I'm excited about art. I'm excited about adventures in new learning. And we're at a point in this time that there's more knowledge than any in the world since the world began. There's more knowledge available. We have film, we have YouTube, we have Google, and we have a course that we're going to teach. Yes, we have a textbook, but this is not going to be the traditional art history course found in so many colleges and universities, where you memorize the artist's name and the artist's name of the painting and what have you. This is an adventure. If I could change the name of this course, it would be Art and Life. The real study of life as it has existed down through the years and how it is today. There's so much to be gleaned from all that is happening today. So we welcome you to Art History 101 here at Essex County College. This is our introductory tape that I'm making on digital film so that you become comfortable with me. I want to know each and every one of you. You don't have to come each time, as we saw. This is an online course. Now, if you're a virtual viewer, then you have to meet at a specific time. But you're taking this course in a way that I've asked you to meet us 1 hour a week. And then another hour I leave open in case you want to call in what we call office hours. And then you go into a waiting room, and then I call you if you want to talk to me privately or to ask a question. But here's the thing, this is a visual course. I love to teach with photos of captured activities and events and paintings and all that has happened. Someone has said that history is everything that has happened, and we know that everything that has happened is not important. But then when you start looking at it, some things are more important than others, and given so much time or so much textbook space, you have to narrow it down to what is important. And in this semester, we are going to visit not only the museums via YouTube, to become familiar with places in the world where art has been created. Not only will we look at many artists and make a decision and bring our knowledge to a point where we're knowledgeable about different styles in art, but this is not a memory course. I want this to be a relaxation course for you. I want you to do your assignments, but this is a relaxation course. It's one in which your life will be enriched because you've taken this course. And not only will you go through this course and hopefully you receive a grade of A, I assume when we start out, everyone has an A. And then we make these assignments, which I'm going to talk about. So we, again, welcome you to Art History, Art 101, and every course has to have goals. We want to lift you from an emotional or spiritual point of view, not necessarily talking about religion now, but we're talking about what is it that turns you on? What is it that excites you? Do you like outdoor adventures? Do you like camping? Do you like the seashore? Do you like sailing on a boat? Do you like shopping? Do you like getting on a plane and going to many locations? And it's what turns you on. We call it your aesthetic philosophy. Aesthetics is the science of beauty. And before we get into art history, you must recognize you already have an aesthetic philosophy. So the name of this objective is really to refine and to add to your aesthetic philosophy. What do you mean? Aesthetics is the science of beauty. We all have a favorite cologne. We all have a favorite type of painting. We all have a favorite type or style of furniture we like, or favorite car. So therefore, you have your likes and your dislikes, but yours may be different from someone else's. Someone might like abstract art, while another person likes purely Renaissance art. So we want to refine your aesthetic philosophy and increase your visual perception. I'm taking a course right now on visual literacy, how important it is to be perceptive and aware of the world around you, to see things, the inner meaning of things. So this course will look at that as we go around the world, and we want to study advertising to an extent so we understand that when a person's trying to sell you something, irrespective if it's an image, you have to be careful. That's important in art history and the study of art history. We want you to think in depth. We want you to develop an appetite to travel, for adventure, for learning. Yes, you may not be able to afford the plane ticket to Paris, but I'm going to show you how we travel around the world using 4K photography. We're going to visit Venice. We're going to visit the Louvre in Paris. We're going to visit the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, as well as all the museums in and around New York. And we're going to familiarize you with works of art around the world. Some of them we can't move. One, for an example, is the Great Pyramid. I'll show you that in a moment. But on the back of a $1 bill, you see a picture of a pyramid, which symbolizes stability. But we will understand that. And then, at the end of this course, I want you to be so fired up that you are an adventurer and you love art and you love living, and you are living at the zenith, at your highest happy moment. What makes you happy about living? So we're going to do an in-depth study of the visual arts: painting, sculpture, architecture, photography, and computer graphics. But we're also going to look at the history of the culinary arts. Stanley Tucci comes on every Sunday night with all kind of recipes, Italian recipes, and he goes to Italy. So you see Italy, you see all kinds of recipes, and I was fortunate enough to live in Italy for 20 months, and what a life and what an exposure and an event it was in my life. I've been very fortunate. Fella growing up in Newark, I didn't even know we were poor. But I've had some experiences that I wouldn't trade for anything. I've climbed Kilimanjaro in Africa when it was a student project at the time. I had just gotten out of college. Someone said, I bet you can't do that now, Dr. Scum. But my point is, I've been to Kenya, Tanzania, been to Israel 30 times, been to Egypt 9 times. And I'm looking forward to the 10th time because this year they're opening up the largest museum in the world in Cairo, the new Egyptian Museum. We're going to study art events and collections. The business of art sales is important in understanding art history. I'm going to take you via YouTube to an auction that a painting can go for $40 million. And we see how they auction and they keep bidding and it comes higher. And then we're going to take a little time in studying the elements and principles of art. Because if you don't understand what line, shape, color, texture, shade, value, light, shadow, if you don't understand balance, proportion, emphasis, which are the principles of art, then you have a hard time always analyzing it. We're going to be going to Greece and looking at architecture there. We're going to study the art of Rome. We're going to study the contributions of many of these civilizations. I'm going to show you where, when we get to Egypt next week, a couple of weeks from now, that we're going to see that the Egyptians gave us papyrus paper. And if it weren't for that, we wouldn't have many records that we have today. And then we are going to have goals in this course where we explore art treasures. You will leave this course with a sense of joy and happiness, but wanting to learn more. I want you to be so motivated by taking this course that you invite your relatives and your children and your grandchildren and your people that you know, and you go into, and particularly in New York. New York is accessible to us, but I'm going to recommend other places as well. But we're going to explore the treasures of art around the world, and what we're trying to do is arouse your senses, meaning your aesthetic philosophy, what you consider good and beautiful, comes through your senses. So, taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. But did you know that 83% of what you learn through your eyes? And only 11% of what you learn through hearing. And through taste, touch, and smell, it's only 6%. But that comes through. So you like something because you can taste it. You like something because you can smell. You like something because you see it in its beauty. And we want to visit places where these works of art have been created. We're going to visit many world museums. We're going to the Palace of Versailles in France. What a place that is with all of its Baroque art. We're going to go to the Lake Garda in Italy. We're going to go to the Louvre in Paris, which is the largest museum in the world. We're going to go to the London Museum. Just museums all over, the African Museum. We're going to go even to the Smithsonian, the new Smithsonian African American Museum of History and Culture, which was dedicated by President Obama in 2016. That almost didn't happen. But there's a place where you can go and see how slaves lived, some 40 and 50 people in one room, in one hut. Or you can see artifacts that have been taken and preserved down through history. So we want you to know these places. Want you to be familiar. There's a Holocaust Museum in Israel that I visited, and there's a Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. And to see all those thousands of shoes and where suffering took place. Then when you go to the Smithsonian, you're going to see where slaves were enjoined to post out in the sun all day long. These are events. We have had events in our lives. And just a few weeks ago, we experienced an event that we probably won't come another 50 years. And it was the funeral services for Queen Elizabeth. Well, that was a lot of ceremonial, it's a lot of formal marching, tradition, and that has to do with art. And it was inside a Gothic cathedral, which we will study in depth. So we want to arouse your senses, get you excited about what you see, what you smell, what restaurant you attend. Want you to become pragmatic. I wonder what it would be like if a lot of artists ask that question. In other words, we're going to travel the world. You hang out with Professor Spellman, you're going to travel the world, and you're going to learn and be excited about learning. We even talk about interior design. There's a history to interior design. There's a history to industrial design, how cars, antique cars. We're going to go to the Javits Center and see the car show, the classic car show. We're going to see the boat show. These are things that are events that take place it doesn't all happen in a museum or an art gallery. So when we see an abstract painting like this, you may not like it, you may not understand it, but you can react to it. And what we want to do in this course is to get you to form opinions about what you like and dislike, about painting or sculpture or architecture or culinary arts or industrial arts. And here are two cases. The one on the right side is an abstract painting, but it's by Willem de Kooning. And Willem de Kooning used to paint. He'd go into a trance, and then he would paint using oil. All you can see the anxiety in his brushstroke. On the left, you see a painting that is entitled "Woman in a Mirror" by Pablo Picasso. Can you see it? Is it realistic? No. Is it designed in a fantastic way? Most certainly it is. One of my favorite paintings. Pablo Picasso, Woman in a Mirror. Our textbook for this course will be Art: A Brief History by Marilyn Stockstad and Michael Cothran. And it's the sixth edition. And you have it on your Moodle page. You will click on the Moodle page and we'll be able to explore. Textbooks are a lot better than they used to be. Matter of fact, electronic textbooks like we have in this course, as well as the technology I'm using now, you're able to see film, you're able to see artists or interviews with artists. Years ago, we didn't have that. 5 years ago, we didn't have the library that we have at YouTube. So again, Art: A Brief History, and you should keep your textbooks, students. Some of my most treasured in my library here at home, and my treasured possessions are my textbooks from college. You see, education doesn't make you a walking encyclopedia. Education is the wherewithal to find what you need to know, when you need to know it, and when you need to use it. That's why I love YouTube so much. You want to learn how to cook lemon salmon and a recipe that's out of sight? Go to YouTube and it takes you right through each step. And I want to introduce you, if you don't know already, to some exciting sides of life that you can be learning and gleaning and helping someone else. So, we want to think critically about art, meaning objectively. We want to have an opinion. What was the artist trying to say? We want to ask questions. What was he trying to do or she trying to do? We want to describe it in its content. And you don't have to like it. So a lot of our assignments, I'm going to be giving you only 2 pages. And you will submit them, but they will be opinions about certain places or artists or historical periods of time in art history. And it's not just going to be emotional, but it's going to be objective. And we want to learn how to expect and appreciate what we do. I've been fortunate, as I said before, to go to Egypt 9 times, but I'm looking now forward to seeing the new museum. And this is the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is the sole surviving last wonders of the world. It took 200,000 men, 20 years, to build this one pyramid. It's called the Pyramid of Cheops. That's what the Europeans call it. We call it the Great Pyramid of the Giza Plateau. And I had jumped off a bus. It was about 130 degrees outside. So I'm not going to stand out there long, or else I would get a sunstroke. And I'm about a mile away from the pyramid. But I've been, and I'm going to take you right up to it. And we're going to see, and here we are, where it's 1,900,700 or 7,000 pound, in other words, 7-ton limestone blocks had to be placed next to each other, and it really creates an isosceles triangle. So the Egyptians knew, Pythagoras, who lived 400 BC, and we have c squared equals a squared plus b squared. You know, you had that in math. But the Egyptians knew, he lived 400 BC. Egyptians knew that when this was constructed, 2500 BC. So they knew, man, and look, that's a perfect isosceles triangle. And this is an amazing thing. There isn't one bit of cement in the pyramids. And yet, here we are 4,500 years later. And we're able, I'm going to show you a little film clip, and you'll see I'm all up. I used to go up about all the way up 8 steps. I don't do that anymore. But Prince Charles, or King Charles now, went there just a couple of months ago. Then I want us to visit Abu Simbel, which is the tomb of Ramesses II. Ramesses II is the most famous. They say he was the pharaoh during when the Israelites were in Egypt. But his tomb had to be moved because they wanted to put in the Aswan Dam, which is that beautiful waterway there. But it was a matter of putting in the Aswan Dam and covering up the tomb of Ramesses. It would be underwater. So they raised money, including Jacqueline Kennedy, to take this, and they raised this tomb up 200 feet. And so today, thousands of people visit Ramesses II, and we will see him often. Matter of fact, don't fall off your chair, but Ramesses II fathered 141 children. So before you fall off your chair, we're going to study Tutankhamun. That's a solid gold mask. And I've been in the Egyptian Museum, and I've been up close to it, just like we are. I saw it when it came to Washington, D.C. No one could get near. The waiting line was 7 hours. And here I've been to Egypt many times, and I stood about 4 feet away. Of course, there was a guard there that I better not have any ideas. He was about 6 to 8 feet tall, but a solid gold mask. And the sarcophagus, which is a coffin, notice it's more in depth. Tutankhamun, he became pharaoh when he was 9, and he died when he was 19. But this is his tomb that was discovered by Howard Carter. We will study it in depth. You would say, well, what is the eyeliner? Is that to make his eyes look larger? No. The eyeliner really served to break the brightness of the sun, sort of like sunglasses. It broke it so that their eyes. So we want to enrich you in this course, enrich you as a creative person. Most our students and most of us, we underestimate our own creativity and potential. And if I have anything to do it, and that's why I want you to come to class 1 hour a week and just spend the time with me, ask questions. You don't even have to stay, or you want to come for the office hours. But I want your assignments to mean something. Short. I might show you a YouTube film. Let me give an example of one of the assignments you'll have. I'll show you, there's one YouTube you will look at. It's called 100 of the most famous paintings that have ever been created. Now, what my assignment would be for you to look through those 100 paintings and then come up with 10 that you like or dislike. And on 2 pieces of paper, in other words, you might put, 2 pieces of paper, you might just put a paragraph. I like this because. I don't like this because. I like this because I like abstract art, or I like this artist's style. But I'm looking for you to develop your own philosophy, aesthetic philosophy. And so we will visit Egypt, Italy, Greece, Tanzania, Kenya, France. We will go to many places in the world where these art treasures lie. Uffizi Gallery in Italy, for an example, in Florence. Or we'll go to the Art Museum, even in California, and I'll show you a painting, but there's a computer behind it, and so the painting is changing all while you're looking at it. So what is art? In other words, if you're going to study something, great ones, and I call all my students great ones, because I really believe that you are great, and you don't know how great you are. You have talents that you haven't explored yet. You have skills that you need to learn. You have gifts. And then there are things that you do well, better than other people. Some people are mechanical. Some people, I saw a student who drew his phone paintings were phenomenal. And we got him a job in drawing these because he drew so well. So the question is, what is art? And the biggest word in art and definition as we go through each part of this course, expression. That's what it mostly is. I'm getting ready on this Moodle page, and this week, I want you to look at Alvin Ailey, the dance company from Harlem, New York. I was in Italy and went in Milan and saw the Alvin Ailey Dancers of Harlem. That film is film strip, and I never will show you anything more than 7-10 minutes, never more than a film like that. But I want you to see dance, expression with the body. I want you to listen to Ahmad Jamal. I put that on your Moodle page, and so you see expression in jazz, vocal music. It's not just painting and sculpture. Then you want to communicate it. You have an audience. Someone likes your music. Someone likes what you paint. Someone likes. You saw, and I hope you looked at the previous digital where I talked about art all around the world. I want you to click on, it's that blue circular button, and look at that film lecture that I give, and then I give you the slides that relate to it. And then in some cases, as we're doing now, we have the notes. So you can go and get you can download the notes, and I would advise you to get a notebook, and that you would download the notes and from your printer, and then put a copy or two away. You see, art is expression. Art is communication. About what? About life and all of its experiences. Sometimes something will affect you, and there's a painting we're going to study by Picasso called Guernica. Well, all the people, he was a Spaniard, but General Franco, before World War II started, got in cahoots with Hitler, and they decided to bomb the city of Guernica. 5,000 men, women, and children died. And Picasso got so mad that he went into his studio for 2 weeks and did this mural that was in the Museum of Modern Art for many years. And he communicated his feelings about that tragedy. So when we look at the tombs of the pharaohs, we're looking at a record of life. This is what they believe. This is the way they lived. And this is what they believe they would be in the afterlife. And then you're able art is a universal language. When I went to Italy, first couple of weeks, couldn't speak Italian. So I kept trying to communicate. I wanted something in a store. Finally, I decided to draw what I wanted. and the man came, brought it right to me. See, art is a visual language. In an interview, you convey an attitude. You need to look that interviewer in the eye. You can't look on the floor. Your body has a lot to say. It's a language. And your smile, your disposition. If you can't see it now, I'm enthusiastic about what I do. As a professor of art here at Essex, I think I have the best job in the whole college. So it conveys, and you can feel it, and you can see it. And so art is a timeless presentation. I'm not the first person to get excited about it. There were others that were years ago, you would see it. And in this course, something we couldn't do 5 years ago, I'm going to take you to Egypt, 2500 BC. As a matter of fact, it's a YouTube you'll look at later on. What was life like in Egypt 2500 BC? What was life like in Athens, Greece, 500 BC during the time of Pericles? And you will see through animation. See, that's what we're able to do now. And they don't have to hire actors or anything, but you'll be able to see what life was like. What did they eat? How did they associate? How did they generate an income? Even the 2,500 years or 4,500 years ago in Egypt, they used to have, everyone had 2 or 3 cats because they used to raise the grain, and the mice rodents were so bad, They kept cats around to keep the rodents away. You see, it's a little thing, but it's timeless presentation of activities. The big word you're going to see over and over again is design. Now, does this painting say anything to you? It's peaceful. The horizontal line does a certain thing about peace. We'll talk about that. And then everything is designed. You are designed. You're a magnificent design. Did you know that your heart beats 100,000 times a day? So what you're looking at is a design vehicle. It's beautiful. And in its day, it costs a whole lot of money. But there's something I'm testing with your, what I call perceptiveness. There's something wrong with that picture. See if you can pick it up right away. I'll give you a second. All right, second is up. The shadow is different from the car. You see that? It's a different shadow. Now, your eye or your perception, that's what we call awareness, needs to pick up on that. When you see this, you know that this car isn't an American car. You know that it probably is a European car, particularly in England, because the driver's seat is on the right. So, art is expression. Expression about what? About life, about experiences, about events, about circumstances, about feelings in life, about emotions. Many artists paint how they feel emotionally. And it's visual expression of an idea that you want to convey. And it's necessary sometimes to give physical form to that. See, back there, they didn't have cameras, so they had to do a painting. Back there, they didn't have cameras. They had to make sculpture in its visual form. So we learn to like and dislike through our senses. What do you mean? Taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. And I said before, 83% of what we learn through our eyes. 11% of what we learn through hearing. And everything just about has to have a design. I don't care whether it's a radio or whether it's a bowl, or it could be a broom like you see, or a mop. But I want you to remember those three words. A lot of things look like what they have to do. A car has to transport you, so you must have four wheels. You must have a place to sit. All right, gloves. If you are handling a sort of an acid, you will put on a certain type of gloves, but those gloves are designed for your fingers and your hand. That's why it's shaped the way it is. When you go out in the winter with your overcoat on, that has to cover you can't go out with one arm covered and the other one not covered. You'll catch a cold. So form follows function, and we're going to see that we'll study this. You are a creative person. You have an imagination. You have skills. You have talents. You have a mind that is super. And the human mind has never been surpassed, students. There's never been a dog or a cat or an animal or an ape to go to the moon. Or, as we saw just this summer, to invent a telescope that can look around the sun. Or to go and send a camera unit to Mars. It takes human intelligence. It takes human observation. And then I heard last night on the news, and they think they have a formula or a vaccine they're working on. They're very close. They hope by, of course, 2030, but they hope to have a vaccine for cancer. No animal can do that. It has to be created. The COVID vaccines had to be created. It just didn't come out of the blue. It had to be created. So artists ask the question, I wonder what it would look like if I tried this. Even a good chef will try new recipes. I wonder if I put a pinch of garlic here or a pinch of salt there and how it would come out. So you approach solutions with new ideas. You use that imagination. I've always been around my friends and be the one, they call me the idea man, because I can come up with solutions. I just don't deal with crying over a problem. You come up with the solutions. So here's the exciting thing about creating a painting or creating a poem or writing a song. It does not and did not exist before you started it. But once you've started it, it's here forever, so to speak. I have a painting in my study I'm looking at right now, and I did the drawing in Africa, and someone offered me a lot of money for that painting, but I won't sell it because it's a part of my spiritual. I want to pass it to my grandchildren. I have my great-grandmother's dining room table that I had refinished because it's so well mahogany, and I want you to understand quality in things that you see and buy. Same way with furniture. We're going to look at some interior history. You need to understand French design, French decorating, modern decorating. So artists help us to see the world in new ways, and artists help us create that visual record. A camera is one of the greatest inventions, and we had cameras, still cameras, in 1840. There are photographs of Abraham Lincoln. But look what we have today. Look right in your pocketbook. Look right in your pocket at your phone, and you have a camera, you have a video recorder, you have a GPS, you have a phone. I can go on. And years ago, we never dreamed that we would see what you have right in your pocket. So artists make functional objects, cars, boats, dresses, suits. Artists design them, and artists give form to things that are ideas and feelings and emotions. So look at this for a minute. You say, well, what is this? There's that baby grand piano. And in our church, I'm a pastor, but when my father first opened the church, the people who left the church, they left us a grand Steinway piano. I mean, one of those very expensive. And an antique show came in and bought that because of its uniqueness. And sometimes, if there's only a few left, it's like certain types of furnishings. It's the only type. So there's a baby grand piano, but that's a piece of sculpture. It makes music, but it's a piece of sculpture. Look at that floor, that marble floor, which is very exciting. Look at that sofa. Look at the stairwell. Look at what they did with sheetrock just on going up in the ceiling. Or look on the right. You see a functional piece of sculpture. Yes, that's a chandelier. And it's functional because it gives light. But it's a functional, beautiful piece of sculpture. There are people who collect things. I had a student up at West Essex. She collected pocketbooks. And one day someone said, you need to have them evaluated, and you need to look at what you might get for them. And she ended up over $100,000. Another friend of mine at Essex is a professor. We used to have comic books when I was a youngster. And he saved his comic books, and someone bought his comic book collection for $80,000, and that was his down payment on his house. You need to collect things, collect stamps, collect unique things. And look at those bowls, or look at those vases up on the left. These are things that have a uniqueness of their own. Probably there's none like that in the whole world. This is a very important part of understanding art history. We live in a world that's full of cultures. What do you mean? Ways and means in which people live. They have customs. Look on the left side. Now I gave you, and I want you to print it out, a copy of this chart. Customs. There are Italian customs. There are Irish customs. Ethnic traditions. There's music. You have a Latin beat. You have jazz beat that come from different ethnic groups. obviously the art. There's a cuisine. There's a website that you should go to, or YouTube, and write it down. It's called High on the Hog. And they go back in Africa and come up with all the dishes and all the recipes that have been developed. Did you know that macaroni and cheese came out of the slave kitchen? And they put it, and Thomas Jefferson, that was one of his favorite meals. But see, America has a mainstream. We smell the same air, drink the same water, use the same monetary system. But within America, we have many unique cultures from which art is derived. Some artists don't paint for galleries; they paint for the street. Then you have, I use the example all the time, when you can go to ShopRite and get your chicken, but if you take it to the Italian restaurant, there are all kinds of chicken cacciatore. We got chicken, and then you go to the Chinese restaurant, chicken chow mein. As you go around, I don't know if you've ever been to an Indian restaurant where there's a lot of curry and hot. I took a young lady to dinner one time, I said, "Have you ever had that curry?" Oh, I had it all the time. And she put a glob in her mouth, and I thought some of the water was for me, but she drank it all up. And you see, but as you move from ethnic group, in Ethiopia, your hosts, when they invite you to their house, they take a bowl and they feed you. I went to a Palestinian home outside of Bethlehem. Christian family invited us to dinner, and the host came in, took the chicken off that she had cooked, broke it up, and then put it on our plates. Now, some of you would all have a heart attack with that, but that's the tradition. So as we study art history, we also must study why they dressed the way they did, why they put certain ornaments on that they did. Why is it that they look the way they would look? And we're going to know what is art. I said expression. What is aesthetics? The science of beauty. What is meant by an aesthetic philosophy? What you consider to be good and beautiful. What constitutes an artist? Every human being is an artist. Some of the best artists are our kindergarten, because they come from the heart. They don't worry about how the leg looks or how the face looks. You know, I've had my grandchildren. They drew me and they just do a circle, and then you have these sticks for legs and arms, and this is my grandpa, and this is what they think. But it's coming from their hearts. And so, to them, they are creating something that never existed before. And we are going to study the visual arts: painting, sculpture, architecture, photography, computer graphics, and then some of the other arts, so that you understand. For example, the Greeks gave us drama. Where would we be without drama? The Greeks gave us what is called an amphitheater. It looks like a bowl cut in half. But because of where you stand, you don't need microphones. And so we learn to appreciate our surroundings. Your home, if you only live in a one-room home, it ought to look like a palace. And what we are going to do when we study the elements and principles on next week, we have to do that before we get into studying pre-existing prehistoric art or Egyptian art, Greek art, all the others that we will study in this course. Look at that bench. Look at that chandelier. That's a piece of sculpture. Look at that stairwell. It's a design all by itself. Look at the dome up in the ceiling with the chandelier coming down. And you're looking at a sculpture that is functional. Then we want to understand something we call perspective. We call it linear perspective, lines. You and I know that that road doesn't come to a point. It's the way your eyes see and come to a point. Same way, if you turn on your lights in your car, you don't see two separate beams. You see one. They come together. So we want to study linear perspective so we understand it in painting and in sculpture and how it's used. But the bottom line great ones, and I call you great ones, it grew out of the idea in the human spirit. As I said before, no animal, no elephant, no lion, some of the most shrewd animals I've ever seen, but they have never been to the moon. What comes out of the human spirit is very significant, and it transcends time. It transcends geographical boundaries and cultures. And so in this course, we're going to use a lot of slides, a lot of YouTubes, short YouTubes. I'll never show you more than a 7-minute film, but I may ask you, the film may be 15 minutes, but I'll let you, and I want you to do it at home. On this week's Moodle page, I want you to open those files up. So we're going to have these illustrated lectures, and we're going to have digital field trips. We're going places. We're going to travel around the world. And I'll be able to say I took my art history students around the world. And then we'll have assigned readings and discussions from the textbook. I'll give you that assignment later on. Then we have online participation. I want you to come every week for that 1 hour. You'll get a lot out of it. I have a lot to say and clarify. Two, we have what is called sometimes a 12-point extra credit bank quiz. I'll give you a quiz, and if you get them all wrong, it's all right. But for every one you get right, you get a half a point, and you put it into a bank. So I'm expecting everybody in this class to get an A, but I expect my assignments, I'm not going to give you long assignments, but I expect them to be done. And we'll have 2 major exams. I'll send you the midterm and the final, and it's an open book. And I won't require a student paper. I'll give you, but I would like you to have a good notebook when you're taking this course and going through some of the things that I'll be giving you. For example, aesthetics. This is a woman from the Maasai tribe in East Africa. She wove that necklace. She put her earlobes have a deeper, and it's an opening. It's very painful, must be. But I lived with this tribe for a couple of days when we were in East Africa, and her beautiful brown skin up against that. And what happens is the 40 women, I'll show you on YouTube, they dance together, and those necklaces go up and down together. It's looks like a choreography display. We'll find also that many artists, like African artists, influenced Picasso. If you look at the faces and on those this painting that Picasso did, you can see an African influence. He loved abstractions. And then, students, there's some things that a camera just can't do. Only it can come from the artist. One of my favorite by Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh never sold more than 1 painting in his whole life. Now, if he did a drawing, it's worth millions. But the point is, this painting, it came from the human spirit. Even those bricks, the color of the yellow and the blue. He was a man who understood color and how to express it. We'll study Paul Gauguin, who was shipwrecked in the Isle of Tahiti. And ship steering is like Robinson Crusoe. And so he lived with the Haitian women, and he painted them. They say he had 8 children. I guess he did more than just paint. But the point is, his paintings are marvelous. And then we have those paintings that it doesn't matter what they mean. So I asked one time a class, I said, what are these 2 guys talking about? Somebody said, sex. I said, well, then you see a brush over on the left. You see a couple of glasses. Are they twins? All kinds of things that can be used to stimulate the imagination. And Vincent van Gogh, it is one of my favorite. But you're going to see that Michelangelo was one of my favorite. If you were to ask me, Professor Spellman, what are your 3 your greatest artists that you consider who've ever lived? And this would be one of them. Michelangelo Bonorati. And I use the syllabication that's used in Europe on the vowels. This is his David. It's 18 feet high, and it came and was carved out of a single block of marble. This one he did when he was 25 years old, and we call it the Pietà. He did 4 Pietàs. What is a Pietà? It's Mary mourning over the crucified body of Christ. So that means many artists did this. He did 4. But this was the one, because he did it out of a single block of marble. And no sculptor has ever been able to duplicate what he did with that finger. You know, if he didn't understand marble, and with his chisel, he could have chipped off her thumb, and that would have been unethical to go and down to Home Depot and get some crazy glue. No, you had to make it, and for him to make the cloth on her body, to make it look like it was in the wind, the cloth beneath the body. He knew anatomy so well. He knew the veins, and you can see he put veins in. He was some fantastic person. And a lot of that work, matter of fact, the one you just saw is in the back of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. So we're going to go to Rome. This is where the Pope's quarters are. This building back in here is the Sistine Chapel, where Michelangelo spent 9.5 years, 4.5 years up in the ceiling, 5 years on a painting we call The Last Judgment. And that dome was designed by Michelangelo. So we challenge you this first lecture, and I appreciate your patience. I want you to look at it, then look at the slides that go with it. But we're going to have a good time. And the assignment that I've given you having to do with the museums, I want to cover that with you during this 1 hour, but you submit that. In other words, I want you to look at the digital on museums in and around New York. And then I want you to tell me in a 1-page, 2-paragraph, which one you like the best and why. So, welcome to Art Appreciation, Art 100. But I welcome you to a world that's exciting, and you can feel how excited. I'm supposed to be an old man, but I'm a young man and excited about learning new things, reading new. I'm taking courses right now. Someone said, well, you have a PhD, why do you need more courses? Because the more you learn, students, the more you find out you don't know. And learning and being a student, you will be a student when you're 100 years old. And the more you learn, you just get so excited about learning more. See, education is not that you become a walking encyclopedia, as I said before, but education is the wherewithal to find what you need to know, when you need to know it, and when you need to use it. So, welcome to Art Appreciation.